To go live. And I want to know how my No More People Pleasing family is doing today. I hope you all are doing good. I hope you are prospering. And I hope you are working on you because this is the most important thing. This is why we have No More People Pleasing. And I just want to thank some of you all that have placed comments in the chat. So if you have situations that you're experiencing, don't hesitate to put them in the chat to try to get some feedback from some of our members. That's going to engage the group. And so we're happy to see that. Don't be scared. All right. And so tonight we're going to talk about why is my pain inconvenient for you? Why is my pain inconvenient for you? Okay. And so many of us have grown up in environments to where things have happened to us that, uh, that we had difficulties navigating and dealing with. Some of you all were raised in environments where there may have been an alcoholic parent or a drug addicted parent. And a lot of times, because of these types of situations, if you're growing up in an environment like that, some children, it makes it very difficult for them to really emote and be able to express the pain that they're experiencing because they feel that, hey, if I've got an alcoholic father busting in and out of the room and doing all kinds of stuff, or a physically abusive parent. So let's just say the dad has been physically abusive and things like that. Then because mom is so much in need of support and things like that, it makes it kind of difficult for me to talk about experiences that I've had or talk about pain that I've had or talk about some of the needs that I have. I don't want to inconvenience her. And what I've learned that with a lot of my clients is that something a lot of times happen early on that echo that it's not the best thing to talk about what's wrong with you right now, not necessarily all the time because mom or dad don't want to hear it, but because the way that the environment is moving, the way that the environment is shaped up right now, it's just not convenient. It's just not convenient. It's just not something that is welcome right now. I remember looking at some of the sketch with Will Smith, and Will Smith was raised up in an alcohol. His father was an alcoholic. He was very abusive to his mother, and so Will developed a character of himself to where he felt that he needed to be the savior for his family. And so one of the things that he did was that he became the comedian, and he felt that if he brought laughter and comedy to the family, that would put pause on his father wanting to abuse his mother. But that caused him to grow up not being much emotionally connected to himself and his own needs and desires, in developing some things that end up damaging him. That's a weird and unique story, of course, with or unique story with Will and what have you. But some of you all have been in situations or experienced situations to where it was not a safe or comfortable situation to talk about your pain. And I want you to think about that growing up. How comfortable was it to talk about pain or talk about experiences that brought you harm, or talk about things that hurt you, or talk about when people actually hurt you? Because some of us experience physical and sexual abuse and things like that. Um, so if you, a lot of times, just being in a situation where we have these types of dynamics, it could be a cause or a conduit for people pleasing type of behaviors. That's not for everybody, but for most of us early on in our developmental years, and I forget it. It's a stage that they call it. But in those years, we learn not to respond to the things that are most a need for us, but to think of our parents or our environment first. And that became a default way of thinking, so much to the point that we really kind of only know how to think that way. So let me get into a couple of things because I don't want to take up too much time. And I want you to look at what does it look like to have an emotionally unavailable parent. And so in this video, we're going to kind of take a deeper look into what causes that a little bit, what causes a parent to be emotionally disconnected. And so I think this is a good thing to talk about, because sometimes we're not necessarily fully aware of why we got the treatment we did, although it was not justified. See, it doesn't matter what type of treatment you got, if you got bad treatment, if you didn't get the emotional needs met that you needed, we don't want to get to a point to where we're making excuses for the parents and their trauma. Oh, they had so much, so they just weren't able to give me what we want to have an acknowledgement of that, but that doesn't justify what happened. Whatever happened to you should not have happened. You deserve better. But it's important also to know some of the dynamics involved. And I don't want to get too far ahead. So, what does it look like to have an emotionally unavailable parent? And I'm taking a few notes from Psych Central, and they shared a few things that this may look like that there's a lack of an ability to mirror or reflect the same emotional state that the child is experiencing. So, like, if I'm experiencing pain, was that parent available to experience the pain with me? Okay, to talk about what my needs are instead of maybe judging me or telling me how I feel. How many of you all have been in situations or in situations now to where you're being told how you're supposed to feel? And you could just put a thumbs up in the chat or say, yes, I've experienced that at some point. Okay. To where you experience that, that's a big deal. Another way to what it looks like to have an emotionally unavailable parent, they respond to the children's emotions with impatience or indifference. So I'm coming to you, and we're going to see a video about this if I can share it. I'm coming to you with my pain and suffering, the things that are concerning me, and it just seems like you are not interested in it. You don't even want to hear. It's almost like you're getting frustrated me talking about what's going on with me. Okay? Have you experienced that? Um um a parent that maybe just doesn't emote well. You're sad, and they didn't hold you or hug you or come to you and embrace you in a way that felt affirming when you experienced pain, when you experienced a disappointment, when you didn't make the cheerleading squad or whatever it is. I don't know a lot of what women did or do, but you know, you didn't make it, or you lost, your boyfriend broke up with you. Yeah, were you able to talk about this even now without judgment? Um, they're dismissive or overwhelmed when you have an emotional need. This is that thing we were talking about. It's inconvenient because it's doing something to you that I have an emotional need that I want to express. And the thing is, the sad part about it is that if you've been groomed and conditioned in that environment, then 9 times out of 10, you never develop a healthy way of expressing yourself when you're in pain. Sometimes you don't even know what it looks like anymore. Okay, to be in pain, because when I'm in pain, my default is to think about how the other person is feeling. I was listening to something, and I think it was a training, and the lady was in an accident, and as soon as she got in an accident, she's hurt up, but she's rushing over to see about the other person, not even checking on herself where she was significantly harmed. Right, which is, I'm not saying that's a bad thing, but that's just the default. They're not interested in the child's life and your life experiences. You had parents who just didn't seem interested in things except for what they wanted to be interested in about you. So if you were doing this, then you were okay. But if you were doing something that you really, or maybe you shied away from things that you knew that wouldn't be pleasing. I had someone recently to tell me that they experienced they didn't experience some of the things that I'm talking about, and I expressed it maybe because what you were so perfect in your parents' eyes, in the reason that you were was because you always made sure that you were on cue to do what they wanted. So what did that do for you developing a mentality of thinking that focuses in on what your needs are? So that's the story for some people, is that they were the hero, not the hero, but they were that child that wasn't the scapegoat kid. They were the ones that were prized. But if you were like that, you made a strong effort to do that. And a lot of times that came with sacrifice when it came to your own personal needs and desires, which you wanted to. So much was focused on you pleasing somebody else. It could have been a father. Could have been a father or a mother. So much was focused on that. So this is kind of the picture. I don't want to spend too much time on that. I want to switch out. Looks like we're at 10 minutes. I want y'all to check out this video, and trigger warning on this. In this video, I feel that some of y'all may be able to identify with this to some degree. Your trauma may not have been this significant, but maybe you can identify with kind of being in a situation where you weren't listened to. I'm going to see if I can share my screen here and get this on. Okay, here we go. Let's put some sound to this too. All right, let's see if we can pull this. I wanted to make it come up on a full screen, but we may have to do it like this. Let's see. Yeah, we may have to just play it like this. Okay, so uh oh boy, let me switch and go back. Maybe it'll start over. Okay. All right, I'm gonna try to share the screen here. Okay.
And stuff like that in so January. So and she lit a cigarette and was like, okay. And then she didn't.
I'm gonna try it one more time. I've never done it with Instagram. It's kind of looks like it's kind of tough to do it here.
Okay, give me an example.
Please.
So she says her mom doesn't listen.
I told her, like, hey mom, I got violated and stuff like that in January. So and she lit a cigarette and was like, okay. And then she didn't say nothing, and I got up and I walked off.
What was going through your mind in that moment?
I was molested when I was younger. This is a triggering conversation for me. One thing I will not do is sit here and be ridiculed by my own child who knows I will go to the ends of the earth for you. You know it.
Mama,
no,
I didn't
listen.
Say, no,
you didn't say your piece. Now listen to me. And the reasons why I didn't say nothing, because you know this already. If you felt like you needed more help, I'm not the one to help you with it, because I ain't done with my own healing. And you know this. This is not something I hear from you. So if you needed that healing, what you should have did was got yourself some doggone professional help, or reached out to me and said, I need professional help. So how the hell am I supposed to help you if I can't help myself?
Mama listens, but she don't hear.
Okay, give me an example.
Wow.
Please.
Wow.
Like,
wow. Ooh. So sometimes when we see stuff like this, especially if it's triggering, we have to take a deep breath and just okay. And so this is wow, this is really interesting situation here. And so we see that the child here has experienced some sounds like sexual abuse. Sexual abuse is what it was, right? And the parent is emotionally unavailable. Some of you all didn't even get to the point, and maybe have not experienced significant trauma of this magnitude, but were not even able to talk about simple things that matter to you. But here it is. You can see why some of us might choose someone who gaslights us, who puts things back in our lap, because if this is your experience, if this is something similar to what you have ever experienced, what we saw here was the mother actually put the concern of the child back in the child's lap, as if this is your fault that you even brought this up to me. Why would you bring this up to me when you know I've got my own struggles? Like, how selfish is that? How out of touch is that parent, right? what she's saying is that I've got my own issues. I'm not available for yours. Man, I'm not available for yours. I can't be there for you. Okay. So don't even ask. You know what? The thing is that some of us never even got a verbal on that, but the sentiment was shared that I am not available for you. Like I said, one of the premier situations where a lot of this pops up is if you've had an addicted parent or a parent many times that is somewhat neurotic. They're not emotionally available for you or weren't. And so this is what shaped us now into the place to where it's second nature for me to hold things in, right? Okay. So this is why a lot of parents are emotionally unavailable. Let's just go through this real quick. Parental trauma and emotional unavailability. Parental trauma being the reason, the means, like the parent has had their own trauma. And this is where I think it is important to know your parent's story, because some of you all, on a conscious or unconscious level, have experienced a high degree of pain, anger, bitterness, even rage. And sometimes that anger, bitterness, rage, and things like that is not even directed right at the parents. Some of you all have acted that out with your own addictions. It doesn't have to be drugs and alcohol. It could be food. It could be men. It could be, various other things, shopping that that and so that pain has been acted out in this way. Some of us, the pain has been redirected. Some of us, it's the pain is directly centered towards that father or that mother who is not available, right? And so, but it's important to know their story, because the crazy part is that you sometimes have to change the lens at which you see your parent. And this is very important. Sometimes, to overcome some of the trauma and pain that you've experienced, you have to see your parents in a different lens. And we're going to get to that. And let me make a note of that. We got to see them in a different lens. And that's based on their circumstance and what they have been through. It's not okay to let them off the hook for what they've done, but understanding that, guess what? They were not capable of showing you the love and affection that you deserve. Not capable, not the right person. A lot of times it's like, you know, why do people in this situation even have children? You know, but the thing is, a lot of times they loved you as best they could, but it just wasn't enough. It's not the love that you needed. So often you seek love from people who don't have the ability or capacity and will never have the capacity to love you in the way that you deserve. So we have to establish and draw that boundary. Um, so that parent many times was not attached. If you think about something, and this is another one, they lack the emotional skills that's needed. They lack the emotional knowledge that's needed. They lack that. And so they weren't able to provide it for you. Why? Because some parents simply lack the skills and knowledge to support you emotionally, because they didn't get that support themselves. It wasn't taught to them. And see, this is how we get a repeat of the cycle. And then some of us say, hey, I'm never going to be like that. I'm going to love my children different. And then we go to different extremes. And then some of you all are here because we have kids that act in a codependent manner or a controlling manner, insensitive manner. Remind us of some of our parents and loved ones, right? So it's important. What do we do about this? It's important for us to look many times at what we have experienced through the lens of understanding and knowing that, you know what, the parent that I have has mental health problems of their own. They haven't. So I can't, the expectation that many times that you have for them, understanding that they're not capable of it. This does not mean that I receive abuse or that I accept abuse. This does mean that I create boundaries. I speak out boundaries, and I make an action to protect myself. But I also have to be aware that it's possible I may not ever be able to get what I needed. So I have to grieve that. Okay. And then it's important to also get the help and support that you need so that you don't perpetuate the same problems that your children, that your parents did to you. Some of you all have not gotten the support, have not received the help that's needed, do not have the capacity to process the pain and the emotional needs of your own children in a healthy way. Okay. So it's important that we stop the cycle and get our own support. I'm going to end it right here. We're at 20 minutes. I think we have covered enough, and we're going to come back on next week with some more. I hope that this has been helpful, but this is just put in place to help you to be able to identify why it is, what shaped me possibly to be where I am right now, and to give me some context on what I need to do about this in the future. Sometimes my expectations from these individuals, my loved ones, my parents, needs to change. But that doesn't mean that I change in a way to where I don't demand respect or I don't draw a boundary with certain things, that I stop. This doesn't mean that I continue to receive abuse. You have to be the one to advocate for yourself now so that you can be a better person for those who are around you, if it's your children, and so that you can have the peace that you need inside. Y'all take care. Until we meet again, y'all take care. Bye-bye.